Hey, hola, ¿qué tal? My name is Aaron, and I just hit 300 hours of Dream Spanish today. And today we're going to be talking about if I can speak fluent Spanish yet. First off, thing is I can't. And number two is we're going to hop on the computer. I'm going to tell you some struggles I've had, some things I've learned for those of you that are like the 200, 150, even beginner level, so you guys can really sort of speed run the progress. All right, so here we are on my computer. As you can see, I'm at 279 minutes for the day. I literally just speed ran everything, and you can even see here. I think I started in November, but I didn't actually start taking it seriously until basically January 1st. Basically, what happened was I was doing baseline, so basically I was talking, and I just wasn't making the progress I felt like I should have been making with baseline. And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, if I could do it all over again, I would just go all in Dreaming Spanish from the very beginning. And then I thought to myself, if I could do it all over again, Aaron, you're not married to baseline. Just go all in on CI, like comprehensible input, and see what happens. And guys can see right here, I've been pretty consistent, almost 3 hours, 2 hours a minimum, almost every day. And like right now, I'm on track to hit 600 hours, and I think by May, the end of May. But yeah, so I also have this little extension here. It's called the Dreaming Spanish Insights tool. If you guys have been using Dreaming Spanish for a while, I would highly recommend getting that and get the premium. But yeah, so I'm a level 4 now, and basically I'm now at 300 hours. I'm just gonna read this to you. This is what you can do. You're at the intermediate level. You can understand a patient native speaker. You'll still miss on some words, but the speaker can explain their meaning to you without resorting to translation. Understand a range of daily topics. Blah blah blah. If you get if you tried speaking at a store, you could get your point most of the time, but will still struggle producing even some basic words. Making friends in the language is not possible. Okay, what you need to do: listen a lot, extensively to audios and podcasts for learners. Crosstalk, that's something I still haven't tried. Crosstalk is when you talk to another person. So, for example, you talk to a native Spanish speaker, but they're speaking Spanish to you, and you're speaking your mother language to them. In my case, it would be English. Now, it says at this point, speaking this early will inevitably involve in poor pronunciation and make it basically hard. But basically, you'll sound even more like a gringo. What you're learning is surprisingly in this phase you will learn many common functions for words that are taught right at the beginning of most language courses. These are things like basically grammar, conjugations. At this point, you may start feeling that there are many more words that you don't know than you actually do know. Now, I haven't got to that part yet, but yeah, so I can tell you as of so far, this Dreaming Spanish roadmap is literally spot on. Like it's literally insane how spot on it is. It's really perfect. Now, the only thing I will say, as far as ordering at a store, this is the thing. They basically said at this point, it's like, yeah, your conjugation is probably going to kill you, right? But even if I were to just be speaking in verbs, I'm like, I know I definitely could because I did baseline, but it would be nothing crazy. It'd be like, oh no, me gustaría, and then the name of the food, stuff like that. But very, very basic language. But for the exception of that, that just means I would like me gustaría. But for the exception of that, I don't think I could do much more. But yeah, so that's that. And then let's watch a video real quick to basically see. So I'm currently, if I had to be real, I'm now at 300 hours. When I listen to the Dreaming Spanish podcasts, let me see at what level those are at. Okay, so these are usually at the like low 50s or if they're at the 60 point. And I can tell you, I can get the majority of what these are saying. Maybe not the majority. It depends on the topic, but I would say at least 60%. But honestly, for if I want to watch something and like it'd be like comfortable, I'm watching stuff that's probably at the 50 level. I would say that's fair. Okay, let's just see this guy. This is Pablo. This is the owner.
He aprendido italiano y
He just said I went to Italy and I practiced speaking Italian. Let's go somewhere else in the video. Let's go east.
en italiano, ¿vale? A veces me contestaban en inglés, pero claro, estábamos en sitios muy turísticos. En Venecia, en el centro de Florencia y en también sitios más turísticos de Roma.
He would speak in English, but he said the majority of the time, if he's like in a restaurant or on the train or something like that, they're basically speaking in Italian. That's pretty much what I got from that. I also want to add too, it's harder because the thing with CI, it's comprehensible input. You learn everything in context. So I'm going in the middle of a video, so I have less background. So if it seems like I played more, that's also part of the reason why. All right, so you've seen me watch a video, you kind of get an idea of where I'm at as far as 300 hours of Spanish. Now, basically, here's a quick rundown of what I can tell you based off of getting out of 300 hours. And that is first things first, and that is just basically priorities. I cannot even tell you how much this Dream Spanish thing over the past 3 months has completely changed my perspective on not only the world, because I'm able to understand a different language, and it really gives you a lot of freedom. Because, for example, when you hear, certain, for example, you're seeing something on the news and it's about someone of, a Hispanic, for example, and you're actually able to understand what they're saying, you're like, whoa, this is completely different. So just simple stuff like that. But as far as really when it comes to myself, it really changed my perception on myself. And the reason for that is 3 hours a day is crazy. Because I remember one day, you guys can really see, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start doing this 3 hours a day, and that was it. And for the exception of a couple days, almost have not missed a single day. And this is all while working damn near full time hours, and then on top of that, going to school full time, and still doing like other things like working out, having a social life, creating content for this YouTube channel. My point is there's a lot of other things going on in my life, but despite that, I'm still making time to do Dream Spanish. And what it's really about to me is it's about priorities, because it really reminded me and it really told me that's like, Aaron, if you do anything over a long period of time and you just stick with it consistently, like, dude, you'll literally be unstoppable. Because for years I wanted to learn Spanish. And for the longest time, I just want to be able to understand somebody. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not at the point where I want to be yet, but I can understand a lot more than what I thought was gonna be possible. And I'm gonna get to what I can understand in a second. But what I'm really trying to say is it's just about sticking with something over the long haul. Because when I started thinking to myself, it's like, oh my gosh, this is proof to me that I can really do this with any other skill. Rather, if it literally anything. And I'm not going to go into skill acquisition right now. I'll make more videos about that in the future, but that's just what I'm talking about, right? So if we're talking about the actual Dreaming Spanish roadmap, like I said, it's been spot on. But what did I do to basically get 3 hours a day? So I'll tell you right now, if I were to be sitting there watching only videos, I would not be getting 3 hours a day. It's just not possible. And there's this one lady, I can't remember her name, but really what she talked about is basically she was getting like I think 5 hours a day, and she was talking about how she did it. And basically what she was saying is, you basically can't waste any time. So as soon as I wake up in the morning, what I'm doing is I'm listening to a Spanish podcast. I'll get to this podcast in a second. So I'm listening to a Spanish podcast, then I'm getting ready, right? You will be amazed because every day that probably adds, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. Then when I'm in the shower, if possible, I'll listen to a podcast. The reason why I said if possible is because I live in a dorm, so sometimes you can't hear anything because how far you are from your phone. But I would say listen to a podcast if possible in the shower. When I'm driving, I'm listening to a podcast. When I'm in the gym, it's really hard for me to focus if I'm actually lifting weights. But when I'm warming up, it takes me 10 minutes to warm up. I can listen to input. Like I'm saying, every day, just by walking around and doing everyday things, I'm listening to Spanish. I'm getting at least an hour a day, sometimes an hour 30, right? When, look, for example, to work and leaving work is an hour. Then you have all things like that. Some days I'm literally getting 2 hours of input. I'm not exaggerating, just from listening. And then after that, I then get back home and I'll watch like another hour, or maybe I'll watch 30 minutes there and 30 minutes before I go to bed. And I'm telling you, like literally, that's how easy it is to get 3 hours a day. Well, that's how simple it is. Now, this is the problem I face with this. 3 hours a day isn't a lot, but it is definitely a bit of a challenge because I've been doing this now for almost literally 100 days now. 20 weeks. I just got the alert today. I've been doing this now for 20 weeks. And I'm like, not gonna lie, I'm not getting burnt out, but it's becoming less enjoyable because it's nice because I don't have to watch people talk to me anymore like a baby. But the problem I'm having now is it's like, for example, I'd rather listen to music in my car than listen to a podcast. It's what I'm saying is even before Spanish, I'll be listening to podcasts about like business, for example. The thing is, I always wanted to listen to music and not really listen to podcasts, but I figured, well, what's gonna make me more successful in the long term? Obviously, something that's gonna teach me something and not something that's gonna just entertain me. That's the whole problem with society. All we're ever doing is being entertained and distracted. Well, that's a conversation for a different day. So, we have things like that. So that's really the main hurdle I've been facing. I'm not burnt out, but it's just like, dude, I'd rather listen to like Aventura, which is like a Spanish band. I mean, Spanish group. Love their music. I'd rather listen to Spanish music any day than watch a video. Well, the problem I'm having right now is I'm at the point where Spanish music is not comprehensible enough, so it's not even worth counting that towards my input. So, right. So basically, we talk about podcasts. I'm still watching Dreaming Spanish videos, but I will add once I hit 150 hours, I kind of stopped watching as much Dreaming Spanish content just because the Dreaming Spanish content, it's very well organized, but to me, I mean, it's just kind of boring because, I know I love the whole Dreaming Spanish crew, and I'm not trying to discredit anything, but it is definitely, I can't really resonate with any of their content. So that's just the reality. So as far as it, and this is what I want to talk about too. So as soon as I got to 150 hours, what did I start doing? So I was listening to Quentame, I was listening to I pretty much listened to Quentame for probably until I got to, yeah. So as soon as I hit 50 hours, I started listening to Quentame, and then I probably listened to Quentame up until 200, probably up until 200 hours. So I spent probably over 150 hours. I didn't listen to her podcast for 150 hours, but what I'm saying is I listened to her podcast until I got to 200, and then after that, I started watching more of the I'm sorry, the Spanish Boost Gaming podcast. This guy's Argentinian. His name's Martin, and I really enjoy his videos. It's the first time I watched a video and it actually didn't feel like homework, right? And then basically I would say pretty much from 200 to 300, well 200 to 250, I've just been watching the Dreaming Blue Spanish Gaming, Espanol con Juan. He's a Spaniard. Then I've been watching Espanol con Ali. She's Mexican. And then it was crazy. It's about 220 hours. I watched my first movie in Spanish. I watched Coco. I watched Coco all in Spanish. I'm telling you, I've never seen that movie ever. I watched it in Spanish. When you watch it in the language the movie is supposed to be in, bro, completely different experience. I'm not exaggerating, completely different experience. And after I watched Coco, I was hooked. I was literally hooked to this dreaming Spanish process. I'm like, dude, I just watched a movie made for natives, and I understood almost everything. Don't get me wrong, it's a movie for kids, but the point is, I got it right. Then around 250, actually no, around 270 hours, I started listening to Dreaming Spanish podcast. And then towards 290, I started listening to Hello Spanish, which is basically this Mexican couple. And they're definitely speaking at a higher level and they speak at a much faster pace. But the thing that's crazy is depending on the topic, I can understand it. So what I'm learning right now is I can understand certain topics, but other topics I don't really get. And this is another thing. I've been watching Pokemon and Berserk in Spanish. And my God, this is a game changer because I realized once I get to, I think probably maybe 450, 500 hours, I think I'll be home free. Because at this point, I'll be able to watch stuff I would watch in English, but I'll be able to watch it in Spanish and actually follow along. And this is the thing, I never watch TV shows and ever, but if I can acquire a skill and watch a TV show, that's a double win. Okay, so that's where I'm at kind of right now as far as content. What I'm doing now, oh, I forgot. I also started listening to Espanol Abuelo. That's I think it's Abuelo. This is what I'm talking about. This is why I'm not always speaking. But anyways, so he's also Argentinian. Now, basically, there's a couple problems I've been facing. So I've heard from people that basically they said you should try to focus on one dialogue because this is the thing. Basically, every different country in Latin America, because I'm learning Latin American Spanish. I do watch obviously, some creators that are live in Spain, but the majority of the content I'm consuming is in Latin America because that's where the majority of, that's a majority where Spanish speakers, the kind of dialect they're speaking. So I've been focusing more on Latin American Spanish. But the problem I've been having, right, is so I've been hearing from a lot of people. They said you should pick just one dialogue. If you pick one dialogue, it's easier to learn. Because, for example, like Colombians, Argentinians, Spaniards, Mexicans, the whole shabam. They have all these different names for the same thing. Like, for example, a sink, it's hard for me. I can't tell you what a sink is called because I literally heard four different words for sink. So, like, I don't know which word to use. It's things like that. Same thing with like buses. Like there's a whole bunch of different names for buses, or like for example, like a camiseta. Like I think in one of them it's like a nice shirt in one of the countries, and another it's just like a t-shirt, which is a really big difference. So just stuff like that. And they were saying why it's easier to just learn one dialogue. So I kind of was on that wagon for a while. I basically for only 100 hours straight, basically from 200 to 300, I pretty much only listened to like the majority of my input was from Mexican speakers, and like I just kind of got burned out only because there's not really a lot of Mexican content at my level right now that I can actually enjoy. Like, there's a lot of Mexican content, but it's not stuff I actually want to watch. So, I kind of stopped that, and I actually seen this video today from the Spanish Boost Gaming, and literally what he was talking about is he said basically just focus, dude, just watch what you like, man. He's like Spanish to Spanish. Overall, like the conjugations are the same. The only thing that's really different is the words people use. So he's like, if anything after that, basically just get a basis, and then after you want to focus and pick a dialect, he's like, just do that. And I've heard that from a lot of people, and honestly, I think I'm just gonna do that. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. Hope you guys found this helpful. Don't worry, the Spanish videos, this isn't the only thing I'm doing now. I literally am making a video after this about finances. I just have to finish editing it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you around.